So yeah.
Are you in a shred?
No.
I don't believe Shedinja is.
No. He said, "Are we in a shed?"
Are you in a shed?
Yeah, a shed.
We're talking about Shedinja.
Yeah.
You guys should just say that you're in a shed.
Yeah, we're in a shed. All right.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Rudy Wade TCG back at it again with another video. I'm joined here with 4 guests, 2 of them being in the same room. We're going to talk about the NAIC Meta upcoming event. And yeah, so why don't you guys introduce yourselves, going in the order Eric, Zach, and then Alec Arlo tag team.
Yeah, guys, my name's Eric Smith. You guys might know me from the YouTube channel. I run Rare Candy. Definitely go check us out over there if you are not already subscribed or anything like that. Definitely going to be gearing up for like Unified Minds and like Worlds discussion stuff coming up soon. As far as accomplishments, I got top 8 at Worlds last year. I've got I think 4 day 2s this season, 3 or 4, I forget. Then just a bunch of cup finishes, a couple of other like top 64 finishes no one cares about probably, but yeah, that's about it.
So I'm Zach Lesage. I play Pokemon for a living. I am currently ranked 5th in North America, so I'm hoping to kind of take that and maybe jump within the top 4 from NAIC. This year I won Collinsville, the Mexico City special event, and made top 8 at EUIC. I also am part of Rare Candy, but I'm also sponsored by TC Evolution's Rock Games, Ultra Pro, and 60 cards. So check me out on there.
Hey guys, my name's Alec. I'm always on here, so you guys pretty much know who I am already. But I did 2 regionals. Sadly, not 3 at Collinsville. Lost my winning in because I went rock fast. But such is life. Sponsored by Nerd Rage Gamer right now. First year playing competitively, and I have my invite. So,
Guys, I'm Arlo from by TMG, and this year I have a top 4 at Greensboro, and at Madison I just got top 32.
All right, so to start off this one, coming off of Origins, we just saw Zapdos taking the finals, both spots of the finals. How do you feel about the position of Zapdos going into NAIC? Do you think it's going to get hard countered, or do you think it's still a really good pick? We can go in the same order as the intro. So Eric, Zach, and then the other 2.
Sure. Man, I don't think it's going to be hard counter. It's just like one of those decks that's been around for, ever since Zapdos was legal. And, I don't think people are going to start playing Absols or, any like Zapdos or like techs like that. It's just a deck people are going to have in mind when playing. Like, you just have to be expecting to see it. You're probably going to hit one if you're going to NAIC. You're probably going to play, 1, maybe 2 on day 1. But I don't think you're going to see any like hard counters to the deck or anything like that, though.
I'm in complete agreement with Eric. I think the deck's always been good, regardless if it ever pops up. Like we saw in Australia, the first major event that it won, Isaiah Williams won with that. The next week, Isaiah was not able to make day 2 with his same kind of build. So Zapdos is it's neither here nor there. It just exists, and it either exists well or not exists well with the metagame.
With Wheezing being like at one of the lower tier decks, I guess, right now, I think it's really, really good. I think with like all these tag team decks too, you just are thriving off the prize trade, and you're also just like you hit fast and you hit for big numbers really fast. So I'd play it still if I were going to play it.
So I think Zapdos is going to be well positioned for NAIC solely because it's always been like that raw aggressive deck, and you always have multiple consistency options through the Jirachi variants, and it also is going to be, I think, a little countered, not like hard counter because the format is too wide of a range to hard counter a deck like Zapdos, which you might see 1 or 2 of across the day. But I feel like it will urge players to bring out stall variants or test a little more with the Wheezing variants because those have a very positive Zapdos matchup. But other than that, I feel like the metagame will stay remotely around the same as it's been.
All right, and speaking of Wheezing, we got echo on your end, Arlo. Can you like lower the volume of us?
You can just mute in between, like until it's your turn, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do.
Mute until it's your turn. Okay.
Yeah.
Are we doing the same order the whole way through?
Same order the whole way through.
Okay. I mean, I'm not too much more worried. Like if I'm thinking about playing Zapdos for NAIC, I mean, I wouldn't want to hit Wheezing, but I'm not really afraid of a big uptick in Wheezing though. Like I really feel like that deck's chance to do well was at Santa Clara, and based on how lists have been shaping up like afterwards, especially like in the case of something like Reshiram where everyone's playing Arcanine now, just the fact they're playing Arcanine I think really hurts Wheezing and makes it a lot harder to win that match, especially if they're playing like a thicker Arcanine count. So I think Wheezing gets beat by just other stuff in the format. I don't think it's a great pick.
Oh, sorry. Word. I think Wheezing is it's proven itself over and over that it cannot compete day 2, and Origins did not have a day 2 ahead of top 8. Both Pram and Jimmy did not do well during the top 8, and they just let other decks naturally pass. So as you're playing against better and better opponents, just understand how to beat Wheezing. I think Wheezing is just not. I don't think it's a solid deck in any regards. I think if you want to pick Wheezing, you could beat some players who are playing Zapdos or some players who are playing some other offbeat decks. But if you're playing against a really strong Reshiram player, a PikaRom player, or in general a strong player, there's a chance that they will just beat you.
I want to add something else too. And this is something I might end up bringing up depending on the other decks we're talking about. But so many people are just going to go to Limitless. They're going to look at the biggest recent major events. So they're going to look at, things like Madison with a higher player count, and they're just going to look at day 2 decks, and a lot of people are just going to net deck those lists that have things like Blower in them that can deal with Wheezing, or again, like in the case of Reshiram, they're going to pick all these lists that are playing Arcanine even though there's no Vileplume anymore, and they're going to play these lists that are naturally good against Wheezing. So I think you might be able to do well day 1, but the further you get into day 1 and in day 2, I think it's going to be a bit worse. Sorry to interrupt there, but.
Yeah, my opinion on Wheezing is that it's pretty bad. Just like consistency wise, and the fact that like it can be played around really, really easily. I think PikaRom with Selfiehood is actually like a way to beat it, but like at the same time, I think like PikaRom is also an auto loss because like it's a bench like so many stuff. So I mean, like I've been trying to play Wheezing, and like I've been getting smacked by PikaRom, which is like almost kind of like an auto win, but like at the same time, it's just like they put on so much pressure in the early game that you just fold in the late game too, where they go like let loose full blitz, and you're just like, okay, cool, I lose. Reshiram also, which we didn't talk about earlier, but it's fine. Just like Arcanine is like super impressive against it. And like cards like decks that play like Blower 3 Guzma, or not 3 Guzma, but just Blower and like ways to recycle Blower.
And also a Mixer too. We've been seeing those pop up too.
Oh yeah, and the greens version, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played Wheezing at a cup yesterday just because I thought it was fun, and I went 2-3. The deck, in my opinion, is not like, I don't think it's a good pick for especially 9 rounds of a regional. Like the consistency is not at where it needs to be in this current standard format, and also like what everyone else said, smart players can play around how the deck has to be played.
Yeah, much agreed that Wheezing, it just gets kind of blown out of the water by better players. So yeah, you mentioned PikaRom there, and it's been picking up after the lack of play we saw it have at the release of the set. Do you think it's a good call still right now?
No leaks.
Yeah. Yeah, PikaRom, honestly, that's a deck I really haven't put too much time into for the Unbroken Bonds format. So I'm honestly not the best person to even ask about the deck. I'll say this, I went to Madison and got like clapped up by it. So, I mean, it beat me pretty good that day. But I think the deck's still solid. I mean, Reshiram's like kind of awkward sometimes because your numbers aren't that great a lot of the time. 270 HP is a lot to climb up to. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, the deck's still good. You can definitely still win games. So even against PikaRom, you get a free, or I'm sorry, against Reshiram, you get basically a free guaranteed Oko with a Coco GX, and then from there all you have to do is like trade with a Zapdos and then one other GX to get your last 3 prizes. So I mean you can still beat Reshiram even though I don't think it's its best matchup, but it's a solid pick. And just in general, a lot of these decks we're going to talk about, I think they're all decent picks, and that's one thing you might or dislike about this format, but there's a lot of different decks that I think are all kind of equally viable. And but yeah, I don't have any deep insight on PikaRom specifically just because I haven't been testing that one much.
PikaRom's good. I think that Rahul's list with the Jirachi is pretty good from Madison. And yeah, pick it if you like PikaRom. TLDR, literally just pick a deck that you like because all the decks are pretty good right now, except Wheezing's pretty bad.
Yeah, I really like PikaRom right now, even though I've been drawing really dead with it. Any deck I feel like I touch right now is just like it's whoever draws bad less, like in my opinion. Like it's whoever draws the better out of the worst of the draws. I don't know. I really like it. It's really good. I think I would play it if I were if I'm looking at my like top 3 options. I guess I would put it in my top 3. I still have no clue what I want to play. So right now in testing, it seems really good. I don't know what list I would fully play yet. I would probably try adding Jirachis in, just like help boost the consistency off of Let Loose, because Let Loose right now is just a pain. But yeah.
PikaRom is also in one of my top 3 decks. I feel like the deck is really strong heading into internationals because there's a lot of things that you can do with the deck that's not like as linear as a lot of the archetypes are right now. Like you have multiple lightning attackers and multiple attacks you can be using, so you can take those attacks into your advantage in any situation. The only thing that's holding me back from playing PikaRom right now is the popularity of Zapdos coming back. That is a little bit of a tough matchup because you have the fighting weakness Buzzwole and the Tapu Koko GX in order to get rid of the PikaRoms really easily. But if Zapdos is going to see a little bit of decline in play because of people being scared of like Stall and Wheezing coming back, or like Muck Judge, Zoroark variants, then PikaRom is definitely a top play.
Yeah, and moving on to a deck that PikaRom's got a kind of weird matchup with is Reshiram. So which Reshiram build do you think is the best build right now? Because obviously it's proven itself to be a tier 1 deck at this point. And do you think it needs Choice Band or not?
I think it needs Choice Band. I would definitely say that. I've gotten in games with both the the greens version and like the Kiawe like Jirachi style version. I like them both. They both are better at in different ways. Like the Jirachi version has like a really explosive and really good first turn most of the time, whereas the greens version is like kind of slow and grindy by comparison. But at the same time, like the greens version offers a lot of chance to like kind of outplay your opponent just because greens is kind of a skill intensive card. And if you play Surge too, that can also allow you to play, have some interesting plays at your disposal that you might not have with the kind of the other variant. And, I think the mixed herbs is cute. I've played around with that a little bit. I don't know if that's the version I would play, but I think that version is still good in certain situations, especially against Zapdos in particular too. That version is kind of good against Zapdos compared to some of the others. So I think each version has kind of their own strength. I really don't have a preference for any of them. It seems like the Jirachi version has been the more popular one and has kind of proven itself maybe a little bit better. So I'm not sure. I think that one's generally more consistent in my experience, but they both have good attributes to them. But yes, Choice Band in both, I think.
Green Search is really bad in comparison to Jirachi. It's proven itself in terms of how the metagames progress at all the regionals. Jirachi seems to go the distance over greens. I don't know how anyone could play the deck without Choice Bands. I feel like they didn't factor in PikaRom to the metagame, and that sounded like a big mistake. I also feel like they didn't add Reshiram into the metagame, which seems like a big mistake. Currently, my list has 2 Choice Bands and 1 Shrine of Punishment, just to kind of get over that 270 HP or the 270 damage, or even against a PikaRom. But what do I know? I guess I didn't come. I'm not part of the team no more, so that's all I'll say.
Yeah. I've been playing. I played Reshiram to get my invite at 2 cups. I played the Jirachi version, and like I liked it, but like I dead drew all day. If I'm gonna be honest, like both days, and like because I played a 2nd cup just for fun because I went with Arlo just to have fun, and I dead drew all day, and like felt like even though I was winning games, I felt like I was like winning games because I drew less battle, like I said again, because our deck was so inconsistent. I think the greens version I actually set up a lot more in testing. Like Zach said, I don't know how you don't play the deck without choice ban. How you play the deck without choice ban because like PikaRom just rolls over you then. Even with Shrine, because like in the mirror, Shrine is like really like detrimental to them, but at the same time it's detrimental to you. But yeah, I think greens. I set up a lot more with greens, but I mean results are proven that Jirachi does better. But if I were to play Russian Jar this weekend, I would play greens.
Yeah, I have to agree with Alec here that the greens version also has really strong and more positive matchups against the Wheezing and Zapdos variants because you can play that quad Volcanion setup and also have just less filler bench Pokemon that can soak up damage and take extra prize cards from your opponent. And the main thing I really like about the greens version is that you can force your opponent to technically take around 8 prizes because they can knock out 2 Volcanion and then 2 tag teams. You can force them to have to extend their resources more, and also having the option to use mixed herb with a greens search is just a really strong option.
Yep, I can definitely see why both variants do have arguments for which one is better. But anyways, moving on to another archetype that has been kind of in the mix a lot, but then it kind of just it's kind of just on the brink of being considered a meta deck, which is Shedinja Control. It fell off a little bit because of the resurgence of Field Blower, but do you think that it's a strong play at all going into NAIC?
I actually don't think it's a terrible play because kind of like I said earlier, and I knew I was going to repeat this sentiment throughout this discussion. A lot of people are literally just going to go on the Limitless, net deck, whatever, got top 8 at a recent event. So in the case of Madison, the 2 Reshiram lists that were there, I believe 2 of them didn't play Field Blower at all. So if a lot of players just go on there, literally just net deck the list, if that's what players run into on day 1 with Shedinja, they're going to have a great time. But so I don't know. I think it's a better play for this event as opposed to maybe something like Madison, just because, like I said, we do have some prevalent decks in top 8 that weren't playing blowers. So, like I said, if you just hit people who are just net decking top 8 results, then you're gonna have a good time. But I think it's better positioned than it was, a major event or 2 ago. I wouldn't play personally though, but I'll say that.
I also wouldn't play Shedinja personally because it's this kind of the same thing as Wheezing. As soon as it makes top 8, it loses. So I don't think anyone can realistically win the event with Shedinja just due to time constraints and the way that there's a definitive end of time when it comes to top 8 that it would go to prize cards via the rules on Pokemon.com. I don't know if a lot of top players are going to be playing it or not. Like there's hunches that I have, or like kind of a feeling where it's just like, not that we miss something, but I think that a lot of top players might switch to some kind of stall control deck, but I just can't put my finger on which one they'd actually do. And this is with me having no prior information, but it just seems like that's how the cycle is. These type of decks get forgotten for a couple events, then they go, after there's no more counters, then they jump back. If you're going to play Shedinja, I recommend that you fully understand the deck before just picking it up. It's a deck that requires a lot of practice, so I'm just going to say or nah.
Okay. I think Shed sucks. Simple as that. I don't think it's good. Don't play it. It's really good for Worlds though, so play it for Worlds. Have fun.
I think the Ninja is an interesting spot. Like, it doesn't have a very positive matchup against Zapdos because they have multiple ways to move around to the active Oranguru with Shedinja on top of it. And also, a lot of people are increasing their blower counts because of the popularity of Wheezing at the Origins Game Fair event. And yeah, I just don't think it's that great.
All right, then moving on to the other types of stall decks. We have the Regigigas Hoopa with Lucario Melmetal or the Vileplume decks. Do you think either of these have a place in the meta right now, or do you think they kind of just get blown out of the water by Reshiram and other basic energy acceleration decks?
I'll say this. I think Vileplume should be able to be a good pick. But again, I'm just going to repeat the same sentiment. People are just net decking lists, and they're playing these cards. They don't even know why you're in their decks. Like I've been seeing people like play Stealthy Hood in their decks to deal with Vileplume, but they don't even know that's why the card's in there. Or like Arcanine, they're just net decking these lists that play these outs to this deck that doesn't even see play. And so in theory, like Vileplume should be a good play because people shouldn't be playing these cards right now. But people, again, are just net decking lists. And so as a result, Vileplume isn't as good of a play as it really should be. So I'm going to say hard pass on that. I haven't messed with the Lucario deck at all personally, so I don't really want to give like a bad like opinion on that. So I'm just going to pass from there.
Vileplume's gas, but like Eric's right. So like it depends on if you like. We're looking at what do we all estimate? Like, do we think that like NAIC for Masters is going to hit like 12 to 1400?
Yeah,
Seems
probably
pretty accurate. Like, it depends. If you hit one of the 600 sheeples who took a deck off of Limitless with Stealthy Hood or Arcanine, or are you going to hit into people who are trying to progress the metagame forward? And it's just like, it's one of those weird things where like, having a backwards compatible list of like from Madison, like if you play like the DDGs are that Azul play to get second, yeah, you might beat Vileplume if you run into it. If you're running a Rush Start list that I post on Rare Candy that's after that, I feel like you might get bodied by Vileplume. But is Vileplume going to show up? No one knows. So like, don't tech for Vileplume. Vileplume could do good if you want to play Vileplume, but it's one of those like, it's a 12 to 1400 person tournament. You could run into like a theme deck.
Yeah. I mean, people are like Eric said, people are just gonna net deck and play all these cards that beat Vileplume, and then Vileplume won't ever show up because everybody's just playing the crap cards. But I mean, in theory, Arcanine is still just overall a really good card, and in every Reshiram list, like, well, most Reshiram lists, I guess Jirachi version, I would play it. At least a 1/1, just because the card is super, super good. I would play Stealth Hood in probably 90% of the decks I play anyway, because like Alola Muck and Zoroark decks, even though Zoroark is freaking awful, like Alola Muck is just super impressive to like decks like Gramble, where you have to attach Stealthy Hood to Oranguru. So I say still play the techs because it helps more than just one thing. But I wouldn't expect Plume, but I mean, at the same time, still play the cards.
I just think 0 stall decks at the moment can beat good Reshiram players, so I wouldn't be touching it for this event.
I disagree with you. There's one stall deck that can beat Reshiram, and that is Bronzong. But yeah, other than
what
that,
about Dump Truck Press?
Turtonator knockout.
then you go Hoopa.
Okay, then Turtonator.
Then you go Lucario Melmetal Frying Pan.
Okay.
Then you go Reshiram, you dab on him. You hit him with a whoa.
Steel Blow or Double Blaze.
You're gonna have all this every single turn?
Yes, I have 4 Welder in my deck. I have 12 energy. I can draw through my deck with Heat Factory.
What if I lost on your Snorlax with Lugia?
Okay, then that's pretty cute. But I mean, like, good luck. Yeah. All right. Anyway, keep going.
All right. So the next deck on the list is Zoroark. As you just said, you think Zoroark is bad, but we did see a recent pop-up of the Sil Valley build, and we also saw a pop-up of the Zoro Slowking Persian build. Which Zoroark build do you think is the best, if any are even viable right now?
I really don't know what my favorite version is, just because there are a couple different ones. Like I actually played Zoro Slow King to get my invite this past weekend at a cup. Um, so I've been experimenting a little bit with Zoroark. I like the idea of the Silvally. I haven't tested it, so I don't want to give my 2 cents in on that. I think on paper that one looks like it's really good. The only thing I don't like about it is that you like have to Kukui in order to knock out the Reshizard attackers, like with the water memory or the fighting memory for EV Snorlax. That's the only thing I don't like about that deck. Other than that, that would probably be my favorite, just at a glance. Um, but I don't know. I think Zoroark's actually okay. Trade is still just a busted. It's a busted ability. Has a good Zapdos matchup too. So if you are thinking Zapdos might be kind of prevalent, coming up from these recent wins, then Zoroark's historically pretty good against those. Not so good against PikaRom historically. But again, if you're playing the Silvally GX, or if you want to get really memey and play Lucario like I did, that's also pretty good against PikaRom. So I think Zoroark still has a place. Trade and Ride to Speeding are just such a good combo that you can just shove anything in Zoroark and get wins. Like unless you're Tord and go 06 with the PikaRom Zoroark he played. Like, did y'all see that recently?
Oh my god.
Yikes.
So I probably won't play that version. No offense to his deck there. But I think Zoroark's still decent. You'll find yourself just still scraping together wins just because trade is so good. But it's not probably my top pick though, so it's okay.
I don't like Zoroark that much right now. I think that there's a lot of single prize card decks in the format that can sometimes do well against it. Depends on what your Zoroark list includes. I know a lot of people, since Zapdos had an absence in the format, they've been cutting Alolan Muck out of their lists, which I think is incorrect. If they're cutting Alolan Muck out of their lists, they can't really survive that well in this current metagame because there's kind of a resurgence of single prize card decks. If you're going to be playing Zoroark, I'd probably lean towards the Zoro Persian Slow King one, because Silvally does not hit the numbers as nicely as possible. You also don't get the nice benefit of really attaching those energies from the discard pile. If I were to play any Zoroark variant, I just wouldn't.
Something I've been messing around with recently, like I've been dead drawing with Zoroark a lot, and like I've just been whiffing my Pokemon a lot. So I started to sit down and think about it for a little bit. And I was like, well, because Oldlist used to play Ninetales, I was like, okay. So I like tried out the ability one. I'm like, well, it's not really getting me there. And then I thought about the Water Ninetales, and I was like, okay, this is something cute because you start the ball picks, you can like Nest Ball, Lily, set up your whole board, and then still beacon for the Zoroarks. And then what you can do is you can like 50 snipe an Evilax with Ice Blade on the Water Ninetales, and then you can OHKO it with Choice Band Larvitar. Obviously with DC because you need to attack, but like the 2-shot thing, it's like a better Dugong in my opinion because you can still play Waters. You don't need to play triples anymore. You can play Waters, you can Aqua Patch and then OHKO Reshizard. So like you can build up the active Ninetales, and then while you're building up an bench Ninetales, I don't know. Like it seems good. I've been theorizing it. I haven't put real games into it yet. But like on paper, it seems really, really good when you start ball picks, get your whole board set up, and then you can like start poking around and hit with numbers and stuff like that.
Just one. Did you say Aqua Patch?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, to the Alolan ball pick. So you trade your energy, your water energies, you Aqua Patch to the ball picks. Like you double patch or whatever, and then you can attach DCE Guzma, and then you knock out a Reshizard.
What if they go mixed herbs EV Snorlax?
Okay, cool. Waste 2 mixed herbs on an EV Snorlax that I poked for 50 damage. Perfect. Thank you.
I think Alec's idea may be okay, but I haven't tested it at all, so maybe not. I don't think any Zoroark deck can really survive in this meta as of right now. Like having to deal with there's 3 tag team threats that Zoroark has to deal with Evilax, Reshizard, and PikaRom. The deck gets a lot of tech heavy, and it's sometimes really hard to pull off those combos every single turn. Even with Persian GX, which can grab 2 cards, I always find myself either just missing 1 or 2 pieces. in order to put together a strategy against whatever my opponent is playing. But overall, Zoroark is still going to do well this event because trade is just very good. And against a lot of the setup decks, you can just go like a simple Muck Judge can do a lot of damage to their setup.
All right, moving on to the next deck, we have Blounds. So,
Yo, Blounds.
we got the new Persian build, or we got the classic build. Which one is best right now, if any are even viable?
All right, so I feel like it would be disrespectful for me to not let Zach start this one.
Okay, cool. Persian is the better version. Muck version is not good anymore. Don't play Persian and Muck because that just sounds clunky. Blounds is okay right now. It is not my current play for NAIC. But it's busted. Blounds.
I think the deck's okay. I've played a couple games with it just online just to kind of dust it off and see how it's doing in this format. It's okay. It feels like kind of, relatively neutral. I feel like if you don't play Muck, your Zapdos matchup seems pretty bad. I don't know. And with how popular Reshiram has been, specifically like the Jirachi version, I would probably lean more towards playing Alolan Muck. I think the Persian's like super cute, and but it almost kind of seems like a little bit of a win more card. I haven't tested Persian. I've only tested the Muck. But on paper, to me, the Persian just looks like it's a little bit of a win more card. So I would still play Muck if I was going to play it.
I wouldn't play Blacephalon at all. The deck is really bad right now. I just can't draw well with it, no matter what it is. I just don't play. I played it at one challenge. I won the challenge, and I said, "All right, I'm done with the deck." I should have sold my Blounds a while ago, just because I don't play it. I think that's wrong. I played against Croxton, who played Baby Blounds at Origins. His list wasn't terrible. I think it's just really fragile to let loose. I think if I were to play Big Blounds, though, I would definitely play the Persian. I wouldn't play Muck. But at the same time, with the Zapdos Rise, I'd probably play Muck just to see how it goes. I don't know. I haven't tested it, so.
Yeah, with Alex, that Blacephalon is not in the best spot right now. I think the deck struggles a lot with consistency, but I have been really liking the Persian whenever you can get it off, just because it allows you to have have more outs to hand disruption when also knocking out a Blacephalon. And the deck is always going to be good just because Blacephalon is just a busted card, and it also has a really good match against Reshiram, so it was definitely will see play, but it's not my top choice.
All right, then moving on to the last deck that we're going to talk about is Malamar. So this is...
Oh, wait. Were we talking about Baby Blounds and Big Blounds?
If you want to talk about Baby Blounds, we can. I was going to exclude it from this one, but...
Baby Blounds is lit,
the
though.
Disrespect.
The disrespect.
All right, fine. Hit
Let me just rant about Baby Blounds for a second. The deck is sometimes inconsistent. I will give that up. The deck is also, it's lit. So yeah, I think it's very good. No, it's Baby Blounds. You got to pull out the Baby Blounds.
Find it.
Anyways, no, it's absolutely sick. You can knock out Reshiram. Literally, here, let me just, I'm playing it for NAIC, so I don't even care if anyone knows what I'm playing, because no one's going to take this into account. Yeah, that one's insane. Literally, Baby Blounds matchup. It has a 90-10 against Blacephalon with Muck, 90-10 against Blacephalon with Persian, 50-50s Mirror, 95-5 beats Vileplume Stall, 80-20s Meganium, 70-30s PikaRom, 50-50s Quagnags, 90-10s Reshiram Turbo with Jirachi, 85-15s Reshiram Greens, 70-30s Ultra Malamar, goes 40-60 against Wheezing, 70-30 against Zapdos, 60-40 against Zoro Persian, and 80-20 against Zoro Silvally. If anyone wants to fact check on this, I will play them in Pokemon and show them up. So, facts.
All right, I don't think anybody is valid to argue, so we're going to move on. All All right, Malamar time. My favorite deck right now. I think that if I was able to get to NAIC, I would 100% bring Malamar. But yeah, I want to hear what you guys have to say about Malamar. Which version is the best, obviously, and do you think it has a place in this metagame?
I remember when I went to Madison, I was just kind of walking around at the very end of the day, just kind of seeing what made it to top tables and stuff. And I was at like the bottom, I was like back at the bottom tables, just like looking around. And it was just like Squidfest 2K19 back there. It was like Malamar as far as the eye could see. I was like, glad I didn't play that. To be fair, I have not been testing Malamar at all. I've kind of written it off, or I shouldn't even say written it off, but just like I only have so much time to test, so I have to like kind of pick and choose, what archetypes I want to sink my time into. So I don't know. That's another deck that seems like maybe on paper it would have like maybe a bad Zapdos matchup. I don't know. Same time, Sky Scorching Light's like really good against Jirachi, so I don't know. I can see the rationale for it. You one-shot tag teams. You only give up 2 prizes as opposed to 3, so it seems okay. I don't know. Like I said, I literally haven't tested that one though, so my opinion's probably not the greatest on Malamar.
I think Malamar is cute. I don't know if it's a deck that I could play. And my reasoning for it is if we thought the deck was really good, do we feel like DDG would have played it by now? And like last time that they played it was at Memphis Regionals. They used Rukon's list in a new format. So it's just like even Rukon, the guy who tries to make Malamar work every single format the same way that I won't give up on any version of Blounds. The Dugong's not keeping the deck fresh. The deck, I just don't think it can keep up. Like, it could do very well in the format, but that doesn't necessarily mean it can go very far against the format. I think over time, the deck's inconsistencies will show, and it just won't be able to keep up. So I'm going to go a no.
I don't really like Malamar because like the consistency in the mid game is really, really weird. Because like in the early game you let loose your opponent and stuff, and if you don't draw out of your let loose, and you're just like, well, all right, cool, I lose. If you draw out of it, you're like, okay, cool, and then you start getting the game, and then they come back out of it. If you both draw out of let loose, I guess is what I'm saying, is that I think you're like kind of unfair. That's the way to play Malamar. I don't think Psychic even exists anymore, and if it does, Shine Dugong, but with Zapdos being a thing, I don't know what I would play. So, I just wouldn't play Malamar. I don't really like it right now.
Oh, Malamar's not in a great position at all.
Rudy, I'm curious why you're on Malamar.
Same.
I think
like
that-
100% same.
I think that Malamar, if you know how to if you've practiced matchups, I think that you can beat any player with any deck as long as you draw it decently.
And what version of Malamar would you be playing? Because Malamar is like pretty broad, because you could be playing Malamar Dugong, straight Mally with Giratina, Ultra Necrozma, Spread.
So I'll actually be posting my exact 60 on Twitter, at Rudy Wade Music, if you want to go follow me.
Yo.
I'll be posting my exact 60 on Twitter. I think the day after this video comes up, because I am not attending NAIC, but I am playing Ultra Malamar with Tina, and it is really, really good. So if you want to play Malamar, copy my 60. I think I found the 60 that is the best Malamar 60 in the game. I know that's a really harsh claim, but I truly stand by this 60 is the only Malamar 60 that anybody should be touching. All right, so moving on to the next topic is, what are the top 3 decks you would play for this event?
So, it depends. Like, for someone who has their invite or doesn't have their invite. That's and
Somebody who doesn't have their invite.
Okay, because it really depends on what your goals are. I mean, honestly, like I said at the beginning, one thing that is, for better or for worse, a thing in this format, you can safely pick up Reshiram, Zapdos, PikaRom, or even Zoroark, or even one of the Blounds decks, and you have a shot to do well. And, you know, I know that's not the most groundbreaking answer to give, but I really do think it's the truth. I think everything kind of has a shot. Everything's kind of matchup dependent right now. And I think everything just kind of has a chance. So if you're really comfortable with Reshizard at this point, you know, I personally would probably cut out some of the fat from the deck, like the Stealthy Hood and stuff like that, and just make sure that I'm playing a consistent Reshizard deck or you know, whatever it might be, Zapdos, you know, Zoroark, whatever it might be. So just make sure you're really familiar with one of these major variants that we're talking about, and you know, make sure that you're well versed in it. I will say this: it also depends too. Is your goal to win the tournament, or is your goal to? Do you just need points to like scrape together your invite? Because there's different decks also that could be well for that. Like certain decks that are maybe a little bit more rogue might be good at just getting you to day two, just because you can, you know, cheese out wins just from your opponent not knowing what you're playing. So like one of my like top picks, if I was actually going, it would be the Vikavolt deck, believe it or not. I know we just kind of roasted you for Malamar.
Carl Barone.
PC5.
Yeah.
PC5.
Part of Detox, man. The
Okay.
list is a part of Detox. Carl Barone literally working on Detox right now with Vikavolt.
But so there's certain decks like that, you know, once you get into day two and people know what you're playing, your deck isn't really as well positioned. But if your goal is literally just to get like top 128 and get some points, there's certain decks that are better at that. But at the end of the day, just make sure you have something that you're comfortable with. But I think Reshizard, Zapdos, PikaRom, like all of the big names that you're probably burnt out on seeing and hearing about are honestly, I think, all fine picks. Just make sure that you're well versed with the deck and familiar with it.
Eric is completely right. I feel like PikaRom, Reshizard, Big Blounds, Zapdos. Like, if you're used to any of those decks, those are the decks to play. Like, I might not like PikaRom, so I might go in with Reshizard. If you don't like Reshizard, you might go in with Zapdos. Everyone has their own choice of flavor. It's a generic answer, but that's where our format is right now. It's also, like, it's not Origins, which was a 100-plus player event. We're talking about a 12 to 1,400 player event. There's so much room for variance, matchups. They're going to split the tournament in two. You might, like, half the deck, half the Reshizards just might be in one pod. So it all depends on exactly how the format or how the day plays out for you. My pick right now, as I said before, is going to be Baby Blacephalon. I feel like it has a really good matchup spread. Reshizard's the most popular deck in the format right now. It absolutely bodies it. So I'm going to try to do that.
So for somebody who doesn't have their invite, I'd 100% just play Reshizard. Best second format, in my opinion. Even though it dead draws, it still wins games, which is unbelievable in my mind. I I don't think you can pick up every deck. Most of the decks that you can that are played right now, you can. But like PikaRom, I don't think a quote unquote skilled player versus a non-skilled player will know what they're doing fully. But for my top three, at least mine, I would play Gramble number one. I just love the deck. It's really good right now. I'm going to build my list to beat Zoroark because that is the bane of my existence right now. Number two, I'd probably just play Zapdos because it's easy and I can get points with it. Number three, if I were going to play for the money and just win it out, I'd probably just play Reshizard and just flare strike my opponents and go for day two and just be a better player than my opponent.
Yeah, I feel like in this event there has to be a very good reason why you aren't. It just has unlimited options with its flyers, splashable attackers, and just being a 270 tag team Pokemon that can hit really big numbers that are relevant in this format. But also there are just other variants that can deal with it, and just other decks that can beat the counters to the counters, as like we've seen in previous regionals. So my other two picks would be PikaRom and then Gramble.
All right, and the last question is going to be, what is the best rogue deck? I know we've heard from Eric that it's Vikavolt, but if he wants to share another one, that is perfectly okay.
Yeah, actually speaking of Carl Barone, we were unironically testing Magcargo GX as well. I'm not going to recommend playing it, but that was on my radar. But yeah, I do like Vikavolt. I think Vikavolt is actually really good in a best 2 out of 3 series. I've gotten just bodied with it in cups just because it's best one. You can just, literally just let loose like loses you games sometimes. But in best of 3, I think the deck is really solid. Has a really good matchup against like the big GX decks. Not so good against things like Zapdos, but I think it's still an overall pretty solid deck. And you'll win games sometimes just from your opponent not knowing what a 60-card Vikavolt deck looks like, and them not being able to correctly play around like knowing your counts. So if I wanted to play something spicy, that's what I would play.
Blissey's kind of fun. I like if you like flipping coins all day, like if you get pretty good at flipping coins, you could do okay. So if you're like a gambling addict or something like that, play Blissey. And it's kind of like fire type decks because it's off a fire type engine. So I'd go that if you can't afford like Reshiram or something like that. If you like, let's say if you're like the person living in Ohio who's living paycheck to paycheck who just wants to show up, maybe Blissey's like your poor man's Reshiram.
I guess best road deck, even though me and Arlo brought it up at Madison, is Gramble. I think the deck is really, really good right now. Still is probably, I want to say best deck in my opinion, but I don't know how, like your Zapdos matchup is really, really weird. So, and you got to build it to beat Zoroark 100%. Right now, I really like the list been put on Keter Tap. He's been talking to me about it recently, and we've been going back and forth on ideas and stuff like that. At Origins, I convinced my whole room to play it. So like there were 4 of us, and we all lost our win-ins for points, which kind of sucked. But I think it was just because it was our deck, not the players. So if you could build your Gramble deck to beat Zoroark and consistently like set up and beat Miltank, then yeah, you're fine. I would 100% play Gramble.
Yeah, I have to agree with Alec here that Gramble is a really good rogue pick, even though it's not so rogue anymore. Just the only problems I have with it is turn 1 let loose. Just being able to limit the opening hand when your deck is not even playing draw supporters. And also, Miltank is also an issue in the Reshiram decks. And
my rogue pick, I've been a big advocate of this card ever since I picked it up, is Alolan Executor. I think the deck is really good right now, really slept on. A lot of people are underestimating it. But yeah, I think that deck is really, really powerful right now, and you should definitely check it out. It's broken. All right, so that's going to conclude this one. If you guys would like to give any shout-outs on the way out, feel free to do so.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Rudy. Just to recap again, my name's Eric Smith. I run the YouTube channel Rare Candy, which Zach is also a part of too. So definitely go check us out over there. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we're gearing up for Unified Mind stuff. So if you guys are maybe not going to NAIC and are looking more to Worlds and next season, definitely keep an eye out because we're going to have a ton of stuff over there coming soon. Also sponsored by Ultra Pro and Flipside Gaming as well.
Word, thank you for having me, my guy. It's been lit. Some might even say it's been blounsalicious. I think only me. No, not Ultra Necrozma. So shout outs to TC Evolutions. I feel like they have some of the best products available for use in Pokemon. So pick yourself up some aluminum damage counters and some ability markers. Rock Games, homies. The new team. The team that saved me. They're kind of lit. Check them out. We're doing an online store and a brick and mortar store very soon. Ultra Pro Eclipses are lit. 60 cards. Pick up a subscription. And Rare Candy, as Eric said, is going to have some great content coming up. So be sure to check that out. You can follow me on Twitter at Lesage. Lesage Pokemon, that is. So figure that out. Add it in. Follow me. It's lit. No on the Malamar. Get that out of here. No leaks. All right.
Yeah, shout out to Arlo. We've been hanging out for like the past few days and letting me stay at his house for before NAIC, making my drive easier. Shout out to my sponsor, Nerdbridge Gaming. They've been helping me out with a lot of benefits. Like recently, probably one of the best benefits in the game. In all honesty, shout out to all my friends, testing groups, anybody like that has anything to do with me, like associate wise. Like you guys have all been awesome, and everyone can go ham.
This is my team 10LG. They've been helping a lot with testing as well.
Oh yeah, shout out to Team 10LG.
There you go. With also been hit with some fleets, which is nice. And also shout out to Alec because Pikachu once he's broken. And
Catch us at NAIC at M Taylor.
And yeah, shout out to Ben Cryer for being a boomer.
Oh yeah, Ben Cryer's a boomer. He's at 549 out of 550 CP. So everyone needs to help. Everyone help him out at NAIC, please.
Donate a point.
Donate a point, please.
Also, last shout out of the day, be sure to join the Rudy Wade fan club on Facebook. It's a really great group. You will definitely find a lot of great content in there.
And shout out to boomers.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.